Welcome everyone. Let's begin our lesson for today by going over the learning goals and success criteria. First, what are we learning? We're learning how to take linear equations that are not written in slope-intercept form and convert them to slope-intercept form. How are we learning it? Through the Converting to Slope-Intercept Form Part 2 notes and the Converting to Slope-Intercept Form Part 2 assignment. When can we use this information? To change the appearance of difficult tasks so that it looks more like something you are used to seeing, such as changing your grocery list into a list based on the aisles where you will find the items. How do you know you learned it? By getting a score of 4 on the Converting to Slope-Intercept Form Part 2 assignment. Now let's take a look at our agenda for today. We will begin by going over our learning goals and success criteria. While we do that, you'll fill out your Get It Started. Once you've completed your Get It Started, we'll go over it together and answer any questions that you may have. After that, we'll go over the Converting to Slope-Intercept Form Part 2 notes, and then I'll give you time to complete the Converting to Slope-Intercept Form Part 2 assignment on IXL. Once you've completed the assignment, we'll go over it together and answer any questions that you may have. At the end of class, we'll go back over our learning goals and success criteria while you fill out your Before You Go. Your only homework for tonight is to complete the linear equation study guide and any incomplete assignments that you may have. Let's take a look now at the Converting to Slope-Intercept Form Part 2 notes. The notes begin with the learning goals and success criteria. Now let's talk about slope. What is slope? Slope is a rate of change involving x values and y values. Slope is known as for being the change in the dependent variable over the change in the independent variable. Now what does that really mean? That really means that slope is the change in the y values over the change in the x values. So it's always y over x. And the next part you need to know is the y-intercept. The y-intercept is the point where the linear function crosses the y-axis. So we have a line here, and we can see that the y-axis goes here. So where do they intersect? Well, they intersect right there. That is what we call the y-intercept. So in this case, our y-intercept would be 2. Slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form is written as y equals mx plus b. And what does that mean? M is the slope, and b is the y-intercept. Y and x are my variables that stay variables so that I can plug numbers in and see what they come out to be. So m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. Now how can I remember that? The easiest way I remember this is m represents the slope because it's a slippery slope to get hung up on your x. So think about it in terms of relationships. People that are involved in relationships and they break up, there's usually that one person in that relationship that's always hanging on to the relationship that's already dead. That's the slope. That's M. It's a slippery slope to get hung up on your ex. They are not together anymore. But the M is always trying to hang on. Notice how close they are. So M is trying to hang on, and it's a slippery slope to get hung up on your ex. Now B, on the other hand, is alone. Not attached to anybody. B is lonely. And lonely people ask the questions, why am I alone? Why does no one want me? Why does no one think I'm cute? That's B. B is always asking the why questions. Those are the y-intercept questions. So that's the way I remember it. It's a slippery slope to get hung up on your ex. And why am I alone? So that's the way I remember slope and y-intercept. Now what do I do if the equation's not in slope-intercept form? Well, that presents a problem. I can't actually graph it unless it's in slope-intercept form. So I know that it needs to look like y equals mx plus b. So I need to get y by itself. So anything that's not y, I'm going to move to the other side. So I'm going to begin with this 4x here. And I'm going to move the whole thing because if I just move the 4, then the x is still here. Well, I don't want the x to be there. I want the x to be on the other side. So everything must go. So if this is positive, I'm going to subtract it. If it was negative, I would add it and get rid of it and move it all to the other side. So I'm going to subtract 4x. Well, 4x minus 4x is 0, so that's gone. So now I'm left with 10 and negative 4x over here. So I'm going to rewrite this as negative 2y is equal to negative 4x plus 10. Now I'm going to get rid of whatever's over here with the y. Well, I got a negative 2 over here, and it's being multiplied by y. So I'm going to undo that by dividing. So I'm going to divide both sides by -2. That gets rid of this, because -2 divided by -2 is 1, so it's just 1y. So that's what I want, just y. And then this gets divided to both of these. So -4x divided by -2 is positive 2x. And 10 divided by -2 is -5. So I end up with y equals 2x minus 5. Here's my slope. Here's my y-intercept. Now I can graph that equation. Let's look at another example. We have 4y plus x is equal to 64. Well, same thing. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the x first. So it's a positive x, so I'm going to subtract x to get it to the other side. And I'm left with 4y on this side, and I got negative x and 64 over here. So I got 4y is equal to negative x plus 64. Now I need to get rid of this 4. The 4 is being multiplied by y, so I'm going to undo it by dividing both sides by 4. And 4 divided by 4 is just 1, so that's 1y, which is what I want. And now I have negative x, which is really negative 1x, divided by 4, and 64 divided by 4. Well, negative 1 divided by 4, I can't actually do that, so I'm just going to leave it as a fraction. So that stays as negative 1/4 x. And 64 divided by 4 is 16. So I'm left with y equals negative 1/4 x plus 16. One more example. We have 4y minus 4 is equal to 3x. Well, the x is already over here, so the only thing I got to get rid of is this 4 and this 4. So I'm going to get rid of this one first. So I do that by adding 4 to both sides, which leaves me with 4y is equal to 3x plus 4. Now I'm just going to get rid of this 4. This 4 is being multiplied by y, so I'm going to undo that by dividing. So I divide both sides by 4. And I get 3 divided by 4, which is just 3/4 x, and 4 divided by 4, which is 1. So I'm left with y equals 3/4 x plus 1. Now what is point slope form? We use point slope form if we know the slope and one point on the line. We can still create the equation for the line even though we don't have the y-intercept. And here's how we do it. We know that slope is y equals mx plus b. And we plug in the slope for m. So whatever the slope that's given to us, we plug that in for m. We plug in the x value of the coordinate. So we're given some ordered pair, and we're going to plug in the x part here, and we plug in the y coordinate here, and now we're left with only one variable, which is b, and we could solve then for b and get the y-intercept. So let's take a look at an example of this. So it says, what is the equation of the line through 3, -2 with a slope of 2/3? So first thing is we take our y equals mx plus b, and we're going to plug in what we know. We'll plug in the slope first. So the slope is 2/3. That goes in for m. So now this says y equals 2/3 x plus b. Then we'll plug in the x value of the point we know. Well, the x value is 3, so we plug that in for x. And then we plug in the y value for y, which in this case is -2, so we plug that in for y. And we get -2 is equal to 2/3 times 3 plus b. Now we can solve for b. Well, we get 2/3 times 3, so which when we multiply this out, we get 6/3, which is the same thing as 2. So we got -2 is equal to 2 plus b. Now we just solve by subtracting 2 from both sides. And we're left with b is equal to -2 minus 2 is -4. So b is -4. So that is the y-intercept. Now we can put that into the equation. So we have y equals 2/3, because that was our slope, x, and b is -4, so that's our equation. Now let's look at another example. We have -4, -1 as our point, and the slope is -2. So we're going to start with y equals mx plus b, and then we're going to plug in what we know. Well, we know the slope is -2, so that goes in for m. So this becomes y equals negative 2x plus b. Then we're going to plug in our x value. Well, our x value is negative 4. So we're going to plug that in for x. So this becomes y equals negative 2 times negative 4 plus b. Then we plug in our y value. Our y value is negative 1. And that goes in for y. So this is negative 1 equals negative 2 times negative 4 plus b. Now we just solve for b. Well, negative 2 times negative 4 is positive 8. So that's negative 1 is equal to 8 plus b. We're going to get rid of this 8 by subtracting. So we subtract 8 from both sides. And we get negative 1 minus 8 is negative 9. That's equal to b. Now we plug this back into our y equals mx plus b form. Y equals negative 2x. And then our b is negative 9, so it's minus 9. Let's look at one more example. We're given a point 4, 2 and the slope of negative 3 over 2. So we're going to use the form y equals mx plus b. And we're going to plug in the slope for m, which is negative 3 halves. So that goes there. And we're going to plug 4 in for x there. So we got y equals negative 3 halves times 4 plus b. Then we're going to plug 2 in for y, which is here. So it becomes 2 equals negative 3 halves times 4 plus b. Now we're going to go ahead and solve for b. So when we do this, we get negative 12 over 2, which is the same thing as negative 6. So 2 equals negative 6 plus b. We're going to add 6 to both sides to get rid of that 6, and we get 2 plus 6 is 8. So b is 8. Now we're going to plug that back in. So we get y equals, and we know that the slope is negative 3 halves times x plus our y-intercept, which in this case is 8. So that goes there, and that's how we write the equation using point-slope form. There's a video here also that shows you how to graph linear functions in Desmos, so you can go ahead and watch that. Let's talk now about how to check our work with linear equations using Desmos. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to desmos.com, just like this, and we're going to click on the link that says Graphing Calculator. And over here on the left side, we can enter the equation of any linear equation and it will graph it for us. So let's try y equals 2x minus 4. Well, as we can see, it graphs it for us. We can check that against whatever we did on our assignment now. And you can do it this way. Let's say we had an equation, though, that wasn't in slope-intercept form. We can still graph that on here and check our work. So let's say it was 4x minus 2y is equal to 8. And we can see that that's actually the same as this one. But we can look at this and check our work this way as well. It still graphed the equation in slope-intercept form, even though the equation we put in is not in slope-intercept form. So this is one way that you can check your work using Desmos to find linear equations. Let's talk now about how to access your assignments on IXL using SBLink. So what you'll do is you'll click on the link that takes you to your SBLink, which should look like this, and you're going to log in the same way you would log into your computer. So the first part for your username is going to be the first part of your email address without the @sbcusd.ca.us. So it should be your last name, first initial, middle initial, and then the last 4 of your student ID. Then for your password, it's the same password you use to log into your Chromebook. From there, you'll go ahead and click Sign In. And it should take you to a page that looks kind of like this. You're going to go find the link that says IXL, which is right here. And I'm going to go ahead and click on that link. And it should take me to the IXL login page. So it should look like this. At the top right corner, it should say welcome and then your name. If it does not say your name, then you're not logged in and you won't receive credit for your work. As long as this is good, you can go ahead and close that tab out. and then you can go to your Google Classroom, and then you'll go and find the activity, which is here, and I'm going to click on the IXL link right here, and this will take me to the assignment that I need to complete. So that's how you log into your assignments on IXL using SBLink. Let's take a look now at the Converting to Slope-Intercept Form Part 2 assignment. Our assignment begins with our learning goals and success criteria. If we scroll down, there's a link here that'll take us to the SBLink. This will allow you to log in so that you can access IXL. Once you've logged in, you'll come back here and click on this link, and this will take you to your IXL assignment. The IXL assignment should look something like this. So it gives us something that's not in slope-intercept form and asks us to write it in slope-intercept form. So remember, we're going to need to get y by itself. So I need to get rid of this 17x, and I need to get rid of this 13. And I'm going to start with whatever's furthest away from the y first, which in this case is 17x. So I'm going to subtract 17x from both sides. So I'm left with 13y is equal to negative 17x minus 11. Now I need to get rid of this 13. Well, the 13 is multiplying by y, so I undo it by dividing. So I divide everything by 13. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And this is going to be negative 17 over 13. And negative 11 over 13. And 13 doesn't go in evenly to either of these, so we just leave them as fractions like that. We'll go ahead and click submit. It tells me we got it right, and then sends us on to the next one. Notice my SMART score went up. So my SMART score needs to be 80 in order for me to get a 4. I'm going to continue to answer questions until I get that SMART score. If I miss a question, that's okay. Your SMART score will go down a little bit. That's fine. Just keep working until your SMART score goes back up to where you want it to be. Now, once you finish the assignment, you'll go back to your Google form and click Next. This will send you to your Before You Go. Go ahead and fill out your Before You Go and then submit your work on Google Classroom.